Hello and welcome to episode 30 of the Knitting Traditions podcast. My name is Inga and this is my little corner of the internet where I talk about what I've been knitting on. And it's been a year since this podcast started, so if you've been here for a while, welcome back. And if you're new, I hope you enjoyed this content. Wow, a year of podcasting, 30 episodes. It's been a wild ride and a very enjoyable ride, and I highly recommend trying out podcasting if that's something you've had in mind. And if not, there's so many beautiful podcasters out there that you can watch. I watch and subscribe to a lot of podcasts, so if you go to my channel, you can see who I'm subscribed to if you're looking for some recommendations. If you like this content, you can subscribe below. Let's get into the knitting. Sorry about the shininess. We have to use some artificial lighting again. I live on the west coast of Norway and it's getting pretty dark. I just got home from a shift. I work as a doctor specializing in OB-GYN. And it was a long night, but I figured if not now, then when do I have at least a little bit of daylight to record? So here we are. And I hope you have a nice beverage. I'm enjoying some cold brew tea. Is that what you call it? Just because I'm a little bit warm, sitting with woolen clothing inside. I'm not a big fan of the cold teas. I prefer the warm teas, but it's refreshing. So I can talk about what I'm wearing. I don't think I have worn this on the podcast before. If I have, I'm sorry. Repeat. This is one of my favorite sweaters, actually. It's a Norwegian pattern in a book called Strikk. I can see it. I think I have the book here. So this is the book Strikk by Lene, Holme, samsøe. It is in Norwegian. I have only knitted one pattern in here and I've knitted it twice. And it's the sweater called Helt, enkel, which means plain simple. And I really like the construction of the arms on this. It's knitted as if it was a bottom-up raglan, but it has more of a tailored shoulder construction instead. And then you seam the top part of the shoulders together. So this is the second version I knit of the sweater, and I used this beautiful yarn, which I bought at a sort of like a yarn festival stand 2 or 3 years ago. And the yarn, I don't know if it's accessible online, but you might have something similar where you live. The brand of this is called Vestlegarneriet, which is a local, very small, I think, hand dyer close to where I live here on the west coast. And this consists of 70% superwash merino, actually, and 30% silk. And it definitely has that shine to it. It blows out a bit here. I'm sorry about that. It's more like this, I guess. It's a minty sagey green with rust flex, and it's 600 meters per 100 grams, so I would say it's a lace weight yarn. And I think I only managed to get my hands on 2 skeins of this. I think 2 skeins. And I still have quite a bit left after a size small sweater, I think. I paired it with a silk silk mohair. I paired it with the silk mohair from Hasegawa, I think, which is a Japanese brand. So I got that when I was in Japan. But it could have been paired with any silk mohair, really. That kind of upped the gauge, and I got a lot more meterage. Or I got a lot more out of the 2 skeins, so I still have probably enough left for another sweater, I think. This is so soft. I don't find mohair itchy at all. And because there is a silk component in both the silk mohair, which is quite substantial in the Hasegawa silk mohair, and 30% silk in this lace yarn, it's quite a silky soft feeling. And it isn't very, it's not a very thick sweater, but it's very warm. I think that owes a lot to the mohair component, which is a very warm fiber. So that's what I'm wearing. I do have a lot of finished objects to show you today, so settle in. The first finished object is something that I've been knitting on for quite a while because I lost my sock mojo, and it's the Hera socks by Sarah. She has the Day-to-Day Knits podcast. So these are the Hera socks that I test knit for her, and I definitely did not do a good job with the deadline, but I did tell her in advance. But I finished them. I now have 2. I still have to block them. I'm thinking of having a little blocking party and blocking all of my unblocked garments. It's not the most fun part of the process for me. But then again, I don't feel like I need to block my socks because I kind of block them by wearing them. These socks were knit in a 100% wool. Tutrods Kammelseria by Rauma. It's a Norwegian yarn, and it doesn't have any nylon component. Her pattern is also knit in a 100% wool yarn Mondim by Rosa Pormar. I'm interested to see how this holds up. I know a lot of people are skeptical. However, I'm not very hard wearing on my socks as long as I don't wear them in boots and when I'm wearing shoes outside. And in the Norwegian culture, nobody wears shoes inside. So as house socks, I think they'll be fine. I could wear them as kind of socks in the winter for when I'm sleeping, because sometimes my feet get really cold and it's a bit hard to fall asleep. So then I sometimes put on woolen socks to warm my feet up. So I might use it for that, or just to wear inside so I can show off the pretty lace. I don't have a lot of lace socks, so it has this really nice leaf construction on the instep of the foot, and then some lace running down. They were knit on 2mm needles, so that definitely took a while. I don't mind knitting socks on smaller needles, but I think I prefer the stockinette then for the mindless knitting. And sometimes I like to do thicker socks just to have a little bit more speed to the second sock syndrome, which is when you struggle to finish your other sock. I did receive a gift from my late grandfather's sister. I think she's turning 90 this year. She lives just down the street, so I walk by her sometimes when I go to work or come home from work. And last week, me and my cousin, we drove her and my grandmother, who has dementia, to a sort of a women's club for the local women. There's no young people in that club anymore. I think everyone is retired. But we drove them there and I think they had a really nice time. And as a thank you, my grandfather's sister, she gifted me and my cousin a pair of socks that she has knitted. So these are her kind of signature socks. She says she doesn't have a pattern for them. She kind of just knits them. And every time in the summer when I walk by, she sits outside her house, which is an old dairy shop. And she sits outside and she knits on socks. So I feel really honored to have a pair of her socks. And maybe one day I'll get around to try and knit the same pattern as her. It's a very traditional pattern that a lot of Norwegian designs have, with the little flea pattern and the selbu stars, or selbu roses is what they're called. I did study the socks a bit. I haven't worn them yet because I wanted to show it to you guys. I have one on blockers and one on not. I think she blocks them pretty well by just laying them flat to dry, as you can see, because this hasn't been in a blocker. And I think she must be doing some decreases during the second half of the selbu rose part, and maybe even some more further down the back of the leg to get this shaping, which I think is really flattering. I really like that. So maybe I'll try that if I ever try to make similar socks as her. So yes, that was a gifted finished object by a family member. Last time I was working on this cardigan. This is a cardigan by Camilla Pihl. It's a cardigan by Camilla Pihl, a cooperation with House of Yarn. And the yarn is called fnugg by Camilla Pihl, and it's an alpaca, very fluffy, chunky yarn. And this cardigan, I'll put the name here because I never remember, is knit with the yarn Helt double, and it's supposed to be on 15mm needles. However, the ones that I had were just very uncomfortable to knit with, so I checked my gauge with 12mm needles and I could get away with that. My row gauge was then a bit tighter, so I improvised. I had one extra color, this mossy green, that was not in the pattern. So I drew inspiration from the stripes as instructed, but I kind of threw in some extra stripes, and then this wasn't in the pattern. This is something I made up, and I did the same for the sleeves. It was knit back and forth, but I did do the arms in round. And I've worn it a lot already. I made sure that I did the bind off quite tightly on the neck, just so it doesn't slide off the shoulders, and that has worked out pretty well. And it's quite the snuggly cardigan. It's nice to throw on when I'm wearing jeans and a t-shirt, and it's sort of like a cardigan slash jacket, and it is really soft, extremely soft. However, I do think I am partially allergic to alpaca, because even though it feels extremely soft, touching my neck here, I feel slight irritation, which is weird because when I touch it, there is no irritation, just the sensitive skin right here reacts to the alpaca, but it doesn't react to mohair, so that's how my skin works. People are different. Also, when I was knitting on it and wearing it every day, my allergic rash on my hands did act up, so I think definitely that there might be something with the alpaca, either that or chemicals used for the dye. That could also be. I'm still waiting to figure out what I'm allergic to, but I don't mind it. It's worth it. It's so nice. So I've been wearing this a lot, even though I think I'm reacting a little bit. It's just so soft. And after finishing this, it used up quite a lot of skeins. The pattern is free in Norwegian. The yarn was quite expensive. I mean, it's not expensive if you compare it to hand-dyed yarns, but you need 14 skeins. I needed 14 skeins for this, or balls. And if you have 14 balls of something that costs, I don't know, 11 or 12 US dollars, that adds up. So I don't think I'll be making several of these, but I'm really happy to have this one. It's very different from everything else that I have, and yeah, I really enjoyed this one. But I did have a lot of leftovers from the stripes because I didn't use up all the skeins, so I decided to try and get another garment out of the scraps. I didn't have a pattern, so I kind of just cast on with 8mm needles, then with a single strand of yarn. And I cast on until I felt like I had a circumference that would fit my body. And then I did, I think, 2 rows of knit 1, purl 1, or knit 2, purl 2. You can't even tell because it's so fluffy, the yarn. I think it's 2 by 2. And then I just switched the stripes. I knit up until I had the mossy green and the orange skeins. I had 2 skeins of, so I used up one of them here, and I had one left and a lot of the green, because I did have to get an extra skein of the green when knitting the cardigan, because I didn't follow a pattern per se for the stripes, so I ran out. And then I cast on, I kind of measured how big this was around my arm to count how many stitches approximately I would need. So I cast on that and knit 2, purl 2. I had a little bit left of this color, so I did a stripe on each side, and then some, and I did raglan decreases on every second row until I kind of felt like I was running out of yarn. So then I bound off some stitches in the front, and I did, I think, 2 or 3 German short rows back and forth with some further decreases on the side of the front. And this actually turned out quite well. I used up all the yarn. I think I had like this much left of the orange when I bound off. So I really maxed out on my scraps. But this could easily have been a game of yarn chicken that I would have lost. It's a cropped t-shirt, very fluffy, very warm. So this could be a nice layering piece in the winter and fall, I think. In the summer, it would definitely be too warm to wear. But yeah, I'm really happy with having used up all my scraps for something that I can use. And I have more finished objects, but first some refreshments. So I have been knitting on the half and half wrap for a while. A lot of people have been knitting on this, and I have a lot more yarn to make more if I want to. But I've finished my half and half wrap, this gigantic thing. It's a free pattern by Purl Soho that uses linen quill, and that's the yarn that I used. 3 skeins of each color, and I used the oatmeal gray and the juniper green. I started with the oatmeal gray because I kind of wanted to see what second color I wanted the most once finishing with this basic one. And I have a stitch marker on to show you where I was last time. So I was there last time, and that means that this whole section all the way down to the other end, because you finish off with the longest rows, have been knitted since last time. So this, I haven't blocked this yet. This gray is definitely softer than the green. I do feel a little bit of itch next to my skin where I'm the most sensitive. It's better with the lighter gray. I actually I love this so much when I finished it that I wore it. And it was really cold in the bedroom, so I actually brought it with me and I snuggled up, and it was really cozy. and then I wore it to work the next day, not at work, but walking to work. So it's a really lovely one to wrap around in if you just want to feel a bit cozy. There's lots of ways to wear it. I think the way I will wear this shawl is slightly off-centered, and then just wrap it around and kind of wear it like this. It's quite a lot of fabric because it is double here. So it definitely is that warm, snuggly feeling. And I kind of feel like I'm a bit lost in the shawl, but I also like that fact. It is a warm hug to wear. But if you don't like to have a very big bulky shawl, then maybe a smaller size, or I think they also have a half triangle that isn't two halves, it's just a single half. But it's really nice and reversible in that you have two colors, so you have two very different looks to the shawl depending on what you want. So I feel like this is the kind of shawl that fits with all the seasons in these colors. The juniper green looks very green in daylight, and when it's darker out it looks almost dark gray. Yeah, I'm really happy with this shawl. The start of it was a bit tedious because you had 260 stitches, and the end of it, when I was doing the last increases for the last rows, that was also a bit tedious because it was a lot of stitches, and I just really wanted to finish it. But it's been a very lovely knit to have in between everything else when you kind of want that mindless knitting. I know people are different. I really love the knit stitch and just relaxing. Sometimes I just need to not think. So for me, this has been a great project, and I think probably I will cast on another one. I don't know if I'll do it now or later, but it just has been a really nice in-between knit to have, because I don't always have mindless knits on the needles, so it would be nice to have another one that just doesn't need to be finished anytime soon. There's no rush. As I said in a previous episode, it would also make a really nice baby blanket. It's quite big if you unravel it. Probably too big for a baby blanket. Maybe if you make the smaller size. It could be a kid's blanket. It's a gigantic square. Can't really hold the whole thing up. It's quite long. So yeah. So those were all my finished objects. Now I'm eating fiber again. Can't podcast without that happening. I have some whips going on, works in progress. Let's start with maybe the Shifty sweater. So this sweater has been a lot of knitting, more than you can see, because I did decide to rip back quite a section. So this is the Shifty sweater by Andrea Mowry. It's knit in spincycle, dyed in the wool, and I'm also using their new base Nocturne, which is dyed on a gray base instead of a white base. So I am using the color Grumpy Birds. I'm using the color Grumpy Birds for the background of this mosaic knit. And then you're supposed to have 3 different contrasting colors for the blips, which are these green flecks that you see throughout. However, I kind of just wanted to use one contrast color, so I am using the brown sugar or burnt sugar in the Nocturne base, which I have 2 skeins of, and I've broken into my second skein, so we shall see. If I run out, I might order some more or see if anyone has a scrap that they want to get rid of. So I did not manage to get gauge on this. like no way. I went down several needle sizes and I still couldn't get the gauge. So I went down to size 2, which is the size that has an equal math when it comes to the increases. So I didn't have to think about that. And then I knit the yoke, and then I just found that the last section of the increases was just too much fabric. I tried it on and I think I had like a lot of extra fabric in the front and it was kind of wavy. So I decided, since this yarn isn't very affordable and I really want this sweater to be what I want it to be, I ripped back the last of the 4 increase sections and I did it again with like I didn't, how would that be? I did like 30-40% of the increases and omitted the rest just to have less fabric, and I also checked when measuring it on that I could omit that many stitches. Looking at it, it is still a bit wavy in the 3rd increase section, which is about here, but I think when I block it and put it on, that little waviness will resolve itself. The what I ripped back would not have resolved itself. Also, a lot of people have been saying that yes, this yarn tends to grow. So I'm happy that I did go back and redo at least the last section of the increases and I have fewer stitches. And what I also did is I did cast on more stitches underneath the arms, because I've heard people say that the arms are tight, and I know that my arms are bigger in proportion to my other size. So in addition to casting on more stitches underneath and having more stitches on the arm, I also did a different proportion because I had less stitches after my modification in the 4th increase section. I kept the stitch number that they recommend for the arms, and then I had less on the body. And also I went up from 275 to 3mm needles instead on the arms, because also when you knit in a small circumference, a lot of people have a tighter gauge. So I've done that and it seems to look quite fine. Not too big of a jump in gauge there. And the only thing I'm worried about now is that maybe the body is a bit tight over the bust, but that will block out. I think it'll be fine. I'll try it on once I've knitted on the 2nd sleeve, so it's easier to try on. I could of course put it on other longer cables and try it on, but it should be fine. And then yeah, there's a little bit of extra fabric after on the 3rd section here, but I think this can be resolved by just a bit of blocking. Should be fine. Should be fine. I hope it's gonna be fine. And I hope I'm not gonna run out of yarn. We shall see. But I'm really happy with the colors. I think it looks really nice. My favorite parts are the orange parts and the rust parts. And I think it looks really nice with the green tones as well. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how this turns out, and hopefully it'll get a lot of wear. And so that's one of the things that I have been working on. It's not a difficult knit, but it's not completely mindless either. So this is something that I knit on when I'm at home. And then I've been knitting on something else. So this is also a project that I've had on the needles. I have not made more progress on the body. This started out as a sweater design by Andrea Mowry, her Weekender Light, which has a split hem on the body. I knit it in stockinette, but it's supposed to be worn the other way around with the purl side, and you have a slipped stitch detail kind of going down. I am knitting this in a very rustic yarn. It's Wild in the Woods Folklore in the color Roots, and you can feel the itch factor. I love it. It's going to be so warm, but I don't want it to be high up on the neck or in this sensitive area here even. And the way this pattern is, it would be up on the neck. So I was thinking about it and I decided to wing it and try and make it into a raglan instead. And actually, I do prefer the knit fabric over the purled fabric, but I'm going to try and make it so it can be worn both ways. But making it into a raglan with the knit side out, it's really just the stitch count for the body that's similar to her Weekender Light, because I have a different gauge and a different length. I'm also hoping to make the body longer if I have enough yarn. This is the second skein on the body, and I have 4 skeins. So in order to try and make the body longer, I'm making the sleeves first to see how much yarn I have left. And then hopefully, not run out of yarn when I'm doing the raglan. I am planning on doing increases on the arms until it looks the right width, and then do raglan decreases on every second row. Do kind of a similar thing as the t-shirt to bind off earlier in the front, and do German short rows to kind of get a crew neck, which will be less itchy. And I started the arm 2 days ago, I think. So this is then the 3rd skein of yarn. I have done some helical knitting on the body because the skeins aren't exactly the same tone. But I guess for the arms, I will just use the skein and then maybe do some helical knitting if I'm able to have enough yarn for that at the beginning of joining them. So I just cast on stitches for the arms that felt right, and then every 10 rows I have been doing increases, and hopefully that is a fast enough increase rate. I'm a bit worried that it is getting a bit tight, but I'll just keep going and see, and I can always rip back and do the increases faster if I feel like I have to, because it's a simple plain stockinette knit. I don't mind it at all. I did the ribbing for I think 6 centimeters or so, just a 1x1 rib, and I'm really loving this Roots color. It has, now it blows out a bit, but you can see how it has all those little different color aspects to it of darker and lighter. So yes, I'm planning on doing those arms first, see how much yarn I have, then make the body longer and try to make a raglan with a crew neck, so it can be a warm sweater to kind of layer in the fall and winter. And I think that's going to be great. And one last cast on. I'm trying to start my Christmas knitting, and since I finished a pair of socks, I decided to try and get out of the sock funk, or get my knitting mojo back when it comes to sock knitting. So I cast on a pair of socks in 3.5mm needles, quite a big step up. And I had 3 skeins in my stash, and this kind of DK weight, is that a DK? It's called Vikingarn Sportsrag, and it's 100 meters per 50 grams. And actually inside the ball band there is pattern instructions for socks that comes with the yarn, and it says for a male sock I would need 3 skeins, and I have 3 skeins, but in different colors, like a pale beigey pink, a pale gray, and then a marled gray and white. But I figured, I want to use up some of my stash yarn. We are, after all, running the stash along for 2021, where you can make anything with pre-2021 stash. and I will draw a price before Christmas, the last price, both on Ravelry and Instagram with the stash along hashtag. So I did a 2x2 rib in the marl, and then I did 8 rows of the pale gray, 4 of the pink, repeated that, and now I'm doing the heel in the marled gray again. And I am basically using my Helt sock pattern, which is my go-to pattern for socks. And I have a Norwegian cast on, which is my go-to cast on. I don't do tubular cast ons or anything else. I use the Norwegian cast on because I think it looks nice and it's very stretchy, which is a modification to the long tail cast on. It's also called German cast on. Old German. Lots of videos online. Yes. And then after doing the heel as I do it in my Helt pattern, the way my grandmother taught me, I'll be doing some decreases for the foot, and then just knit until I think it's long enough. And I haven't decided yet if this is too girly or if this could be a Christmas sweater for a boy, man. I kind of feel like this would also be a nice sock for a girl because of that pale pinky beige. But I asked Matthias, my boyfriend, and he says that this could also be for a guy. So we shall see. I do need presents for guys, so maybe I'll try to use up this stash yarn to make a men's pair of socks. We shall see. So that's all that I have been knitting on since last time. But I feel like, considering how much I'm working, that's quite a bit. And also, I have some really exciting news that me and my boyfriend, we bought our first home together, and we will be moving soon in October at some point. And yeah, so we've been renting until now, so this is going to be a really big and wonderful step to take. And I will be sure to show you my new yarn room once I move, because I plan to have a room for this desk that I have bought, which is a vintage desk from 1900 to 1920 sometimes, locally made here, that has been in the family of some people that sold it, and I got it for like 60 bucks. So that was a really great buy, and it's gonna be in my yarn room. And I've already filled it up with a little bit of yarn, as you can see. So I figured I can show you my stash acquisitions. So first, maybe we can start on the top shelf. A wonderful viewer called Debbie, she saw when I showed my Rusted Rainbow yarn that I bought from Spincycle that I wasn't really happy with the colors. I wanted more autumnal colors like these, more orangey, darker. And she wanted more pinks, which is what I had gotten. So we swapped. She sent me these, which have more of the colors that I wanted. This is my favorite right here. And then I sent her my 5 skeins with the more pink colors. And the idea is to make, I don't remember the name now. It's another Andrew Maurer pattern that combines this yarn with a silk mohair, held double, or surrey alpaca, I guess you could also use. Me being a little bit itchy with alpaca, I'll definitely go for the mohair, I think. But I need to finish some other projects first. And she also very kindly sent me a gift from her stash, which fits nice in with the stash along to kind of use your stash. So she used some stash to send to me, and I'm very honored because this is a yarn that I have heard so much about. This is the Peace fleece, which is made in the US, and I've seen a lot of American podcasters talk about this yarn and knitting with it. and we don't have it here. So the fact that she sent me this from her stash is so nice, and it's definitely my colors. So I think this could make a really nice sweater, like a striped sweater. I know Petite Knit has several striped sweater patterns, or maybe they could make some lovely accessories. I haven't quite decided yet. I think they're all beautiful together, and they're very interesting in the color. They are like semi-solid color, but it does have a little bit of warmer and cooler tones. I think this is my favorite out of the 4 colors, and they all complement each other very nicely. So thank you, Debbie, for that generosity. And then since we bought a house, my boyfriend needed to get a car because he didn't have a car, so he bought an old one, which was quite affordable, same thing I did. And we had to go to Bergen to get the car, which is a 3.5-hour drive each way. But we drove by Hillesvåg, which is the factory of my favorite Norwegian yarn producer. I really, really enjoy their yarns. And I went to their sales section because they do have a sales section. Their store is both a okay, I dropped a yarn, but I bought 4 of this. Their store is also a museum, and they produce yarn there and dye several colors of yarn there. So it's a really nice place to visit if you're on the West Coast. And upstairs in their factory, they do have a photo of their factory on this ball band. It's an old factory. And it's run by a family-run business for 4 generations. And it started in 1898. So I went upstairs where they produce a lot of their wool and dyes, and I looked into their big chest of yarns for sale, which were 30% off. And I saw this. This is Embla Hifa 3, and I've never tried this base. It's 100% wool, and 100 grams has 210 meters. So I got 4 skeins, which should be plenty for a sweater. I love the golden mustardy color. It's not next to skin soft maybe, but their yarns do tend to soften up a lot with washing. So I'm looking forward to making a sweater in this. Probably a simple sweater, because that's what I gravitate towards when I put on layering pieces. I do enjoy to wear I think my most used sweater is a simple plain stockinette sweater knit in their Tinde yarn, which I love to wear when skiing and hiking, and I can see this making a similar sweater. This is not pelt wool like Tinde. This is Norwegian white sheep probably, which is usually the most common wool breed used in Norwegian yarns. And usually when they say 100% Norwegian wool, it's the white Norwegian sheep that's been used. Or Dalasau, I think it's the Dalasau breed, but I might be wrong. So I got those 4. I love a good sale. My hoarding tendencies are very happy with it. And then I saw another colorway, which I thought was just beautiful. I don't know if this is my color, but this would make a great gift knit if I were to make a sweater. And I think this is a color that's also really nice on men. It's like a mauve wine red. I would call this like red wine. It has like purple tones. Maroon? No, I don't know. It's quite color accurate, I think, here. It's dark and beautiful, and I got 5 skeins of this in case I want to make it a sweater for Matthias or another man in my life, maybe one of my brothers, or maybe for me because I do love to knit for myself. But this is the Ask, which is also 100% Norwegian wool. This is thinner than the Embla because this had, what did I say? 210 meters, and this one has 315 meters. So this is what you would call a fingering weight, and this is what a DK Aran weight. I'm better at recognizing lace fingering and DK because those are what I mainly use. But yeah, this should be plenty for a sweater. I think it would look lovely with structure, but also really lovely to just have a simple plain raglan, which is very usable. So yeah, I got those. I got more. I saw they had this colorway as well for sale in the Ask. And if you saw some episodes before, I don't remember which one, I have bought other Ask and I have plans for them. I just haven't gotten around to knitting with them yet, but I know I will. I've heard nothing but positive feedback about this yarn, and it's great for color work. So I saw these 3, and 3 is also enough for a sweater for me. So I could make that, or I could make color work, because I saw these next to each other and I thought that it just looked so lovely that it would look almost like gold together with this color. So if I were to do that, then I could use this to make a color work sweater for me, and then I still would have enough left for a color work sweater for a man, or another sweater for me in this yarn, a t-shirt in this yarn. The possibilities are endless. And I really like that. I like getting, if I don't have a specific project in mind, when I buy yarn, I buy yarn thinking that, okay, I could make this, or this, like a sweater or a t-shirt. I know I have the possibilities to make things with all the yarn. And that way I kind of let myself buy yarn that I don't technically need, but all of them have potential plans. And I very rarely go to a store and bring a pattern in mind and buy yarn for that project. I did do that for the cardigan, but I think that's the first time in a very long time. And I guess the Shifty, but that's something that I've been wanting for 3 years, but I haven't been able to get the yarn until now. So I usually knit from my stash. So I buy sweater quantities or t-shirt quantities. For socks, of course, I can get like 1 skein, but I'm not a big accessory person. So my stash is mainly garment quantities. And I guess maybe I could do a little video of when I'm organizing my new stash / yarn room, because I do have a substantial stash. And now I hope to get it out of my storage room and into a more organized way, so it's easier to pick from my stash when I want to knit things. And I wasn't done. Of course, I have more yarn. So there was another yarn in their chest of yarns on sale. So as you see, I do like the fall autumnal colors, but they're all different and they're all different bases. This is the Varde base, which is 100% Norwegian pelt wool, one of my favorite sheep breeds. My favorite yarn is Tinde, which is this just thinner. This has 200 meters per 100 grams, and I got 5 skeins of this, again because 3 would maybe be enough for me, 4 would definitely be enough for me, 5 would be enough for a men's sweater. So I might make a men's sized sweater from this yarn, or it would be a really nice big sweater to throw on at the cabin to just have that warmth, because the pelt wool is a sheep breed that's related to the Gotland wool, if you know that sheep breed, and it has sort of a mohair looking halo, and it just gets softer and softer with wear and wash, and more halo, which is really nice. So I'm really happy with this. I got a lot of yarn for a good bargain, because when you buy the yarn at their factory, it's cheaper than if you buy it online. So when it's a discount on that already discounted yarn, I just could not help myself. And also it's nicer when you see it live. It's harder to say no, at least for me. And I have one last acquisition, and I finally got my Knit Crate yarn. So I'm an affiliate member of Knit Crate, which means they send me their yarn crate once a month, and then I get it for free to try. And if anyone uses my discount code or link, then I get a small amount of money from them for that. But no pressure, you don't have to do it. You don't know what yarn you get. You always get 2 skeins, and you can preview the colorways, and there are several colorways, but you don't know which color you do get. So with the postage to Norway being extremely slow, I just received my July yarn, but I'm in a rush. So this is the Vidalana Oasis, and the color is Nevada, and this is 50% alpaca and 25% Peruvian Highland wool, and then Peruvian Highland / merino wool, okay, and then 25% Suri alpaca. And this is 230 meters, a DK weight. So I got these two, and they're like a warm brownish gray kind of color with blue specks. And I love the base color. I have to say, I'm not a huge fan of the blue specks. I'm always gonna give an honest review. But that's because blue isn't really my thing. And if I use speckled yarns, I prefer kind of this kind of thing, that it's several tiny specks all over, so it doesn't get too much of a pooling. These are bigger specks of blue and fewer spaces. And you know, you don't know which color you get. These were all the colors of the July month, so I think any one of these would have been more my jam. But yeah, it's still nice. So if you were the kind of person who like a surprise, the Knit Crate is a great option for you. And so far it's been all beautiful non-superwash yarns, which I'm a really big fan of. And they also plant trees per crate to offset their carbon footprint. So it's really nice. And they also have a sock club that you could do instead of the knit and crochet. And with every month you get patterns. So these were the patterns for this month, both knit and crochet. Actually, the knit one almost looks like crochet, this one right here. So yeah, it's been really nice. So far from my Knit Crate, I've knit a t-shirt that I managed to do with 2 skeins, and I've crocheted an elephant. And I do have a plan for, I think it was my May club. I have a plan, I just haven't gotten around to starting it yet, but I'm thinking of making an accessory because that yarn was really soft and beautiful. And also they sent a little, every month they send like a little thing. And this was a sip, stitch, and repeat from Knit Crate. It's something that's going to be really nice to have outside beverages in the winter. I think it's supposed to be for summer drinks to keep them cool, but it also works really well when you sit outside and it's really cold to have a warm drink inside, because it's like an insulation thing. So I'm going to put this at my cabin for those hot cocos outside in the cold. All right, so that was all of the things of this week's episode. So I guess we can sit and talk a little bit about my new home if you're interested. And if not, I will see you next time. All right, so I guess I need to find my knitting in the midst of this whole pile of things that I've shown. Put my yarn back. I need more hours to knit. I feel like I try to knit more than I buy, but it's just a lot quicker to buy yarn than to knit it up. But I think it'll be better once I have a yarn room. Then I have a more of an overview and I can feel like I'm kind of yarn shopping in my own room, if that makes sense. All right, so we have been wanting to buy a place for a long while because when you rent, the money that you pay for rent kind of just disappear. But if you get a mortgage loan, then you're kind of paying in something that you will get back if you sell it again. It's quite expensive here, so even though we are both doctors, we have to get quite a big mortgage loan to buy something, but we've discussed it and we felt it was worth it. We decided to buy a house which is, it's sort of like a house that has two houses in it, like a duplex. There's another family living in one half of it, and then we have bought the other half of it, and it's totally separated, and we have separated gardens as well. And we bought this, which is, it's like a 15-minute drive from where we live now, from the hospital. So we do need to drive a car. There is no buses or anything going out there. But it's a really nice view. I can see if I can put a photo here. It's a really nice view, and I've always wanted to live somewhere with a nice view. And because we moved a bit out of town to a place where you need a car to go, the prices were a bit more affordable than in downtown. So we managed to get a house that it was built in 2002, but they have made renovations for the bathroom and kitchen, and also painted and done a lot of things in 2015. So it looks quite modern. So I'm really looking forward to having this very ready to move in house, and then maybe paint a few walls. I have some ideas of things that I want to do, and then put this beautiful old desk in my knitting room and just slowly decorate it the way that we want it to be. We do need to get some furniture, but we have what we need to kind of move in now. We have a bed and we have a couch, which hopefully will arrive before we move in. So we have somewhere to sit. If not, I have a knitting chair so I can sit, and then, I don't know, he'll have to sit on the ground or something. Yeah, so I think it's gonna be nice. We will have to get up a bit earlier to go to work, but then I'll have a nice coffee while driving to work. So it's gonna be fine. And it's also a bit nice to get a bit away from work and separate yourself from it, because right now I live so close that I can basically look at where I work when I go home. And honestly, that view is worth everything. I can't wait to sit and knit and drink coffees or have friends over and have a girls' night and have some drinks. It's gonna be really nice. And it has windows, lots of windows, because right now I've been living in this basement for 2 years and it gets quite dark. Now I have artificial lighting, but this is a house with light colors and lots of windows on 2 sides and not just 1 side. So I'm looking forward to have more daylight, and I'm hoping that the room that I plan to use for podcasting has enough natural daylight, because it has 2 windows that I will be sitting kind of in front of. So I'm hoping that will make better quality on the videos, because I do find natural lighting to be the best kind of lighting. Yeah, so that's really exciting. I'm it's a big step. I need to take some extra shifts and save a bit of money. So I'll try to not buy too much yarn. I do have enough yarn to knit with. It's just, it makes me happy to buy yarn. I don't know, are you like that, or are you good with restraining yourself? Oh, I think I'm forgetting to increase now. See, it's not completely mindless when you have to remember to do something. You know. And I think I'm using 3mm needles for this. I think so. Yeah. Alright, so I hope I can record once before I move, but I can't make any promises because I also work full time, and if I have to spend the time after work to paint and work on doing like the last finishing touches and then move all our stuff and then clean out this apartment, it might be a little bit longer until the next episode, but I hope that I can squeeze one in before we move, or during, we shall see. And other than that, I hope that you're well. I hope that you're getting a lot of knitting done or just enjoying fall. Fall is definitely here. It's wet and rainy, not the kind of beautiful fall that a lot of other people get, but it is what it is. The colors are beautiful. And I will see you soon. Bye.